Okay, so let's begin. So today you're going to need some base 10 blocks. So on the screen you see that I have several flats. Those represent 100. I have several rods. They represent 10. And then we have our units or our ones cubes. Today we're going to be doing 2 by 2 digit multiplication. And this concept is typically introduced to students in the 4th grade. So by this point in 4th grade, students have mastered addition with regrouping and their basic multiplication facts. But we will also be using vocabulary like perimeter and area. This concept was taught to students in 3rd grade. But it's important that we use that math vocabulary to build on students' knowledge and connect the math to each other. Often students see math as totally isolated and separate concepts, and we want to connect these things. Okay, so we are going to model the math problem of 12 times 23. So 2-digit by 2-digit multiplication. And even though I'm showing you this model, it's really important that you be flexible with your students' thinking, and how you see it may not be how your students see it. So to be able to be flexible and go with what they're thinking, which means you have to have a strong foundation in this concept that I'm about to show you. Okay, so we're going to start by building a frame. And when I talk about frame, again, I want to connect that to what students know about area and perimeter. So we talk about having a picture and you need to build a frame for it. Well, we need to do the same thing for this concrete model that we're about to do. So when I'm looking at 12 by 23, I choose to start with the 12. It comes first if the problem's written vertically, or I'm sorry, if the problem's written horizontally, like you see here, 12 comes first. It seems logical to me to start with 12. Students may not see it that way. So again, be flexible in what students see. I'm going to build a frame. So I have 12. I know that a rod represents 10, and I'm going to need 2 units. Again, I am choosing to start this frame on the left-hand side. I have many years of practice with reading from left to right, reading from top to bottom, but kids' experiences are a little bit different. So again, be flexible in what students see and how students respond to you. But when you're modeling this, this is a good way to start. So I'm building my 12. Notice that I have 10 plus 2 more. So that gives me 12. And I built that along the side. I am now going to build 23. And I'm going to start building out my frame. So I'm going to do that across the top. So I know that 23 is, I'm going to need 2 rods and 3 units. Now right here, I'm going to tell you this is the first place you're going to want to pre-correct students, because by nature, students are going to want to line this up and make your corners flush. If you do that, you no longer will have 23 across the top because you have cut off a single here. So a lot of times, and I have this little unit cube and it's a different color, I like to put a placeholder in here when I'm building, just so that I can make sure students see and that I can see that I have 12 units and I'm going to build 23 units right here. Now you could complete the frame, remembering to hold your spacers in for your corners so that you don't have less than what you need. But really, at this point, when you have your 2 sides of your frame, that's all you're going to need. So you're going to talk to your students about, we need to fill in this area. And this area is going to represent what the answer to 12 times 23 represents. So I can take a flat because I know, and students should know, that a 10 by 10 area will equal 100. I know I have another 10 by 10, so I'm going to put a second flat in there. My job at this point is to fill in my area to have a complete area without bumping them. Okay, so I have 3 1s here on this edge, but I have 3 and 10 going down my side. So I can take 3 of my rods, and so now I have accounted for this top, this 23 here. Make sure you can see that. I'm going to do the same across the bottom. So I have 2 units, and I'm going to fill in my area because I have 2 and 10. I have more space here that also would represent 10 more. And now what I have left is this little empty corner pocket here. And I'm going to fill those in with units. All right, so this looks big. It looks like there's a lot going on, but we no longer need our frame because we have used our frame to build the concept. So I'm going to move the frame out of the picture because the answer to 12 by 23 is equivalent to the area that was inside of our frame. So at this point, you can gauge where students are with their mathematical learning about how they figure out how many units are in here, what is this area. You will see students who automatically know I have 200s, so you have 200. And then they may count on, and I have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So those students who can say 270, and then units, I have 6. So the answer to 12 times 23 is 276, represented in this model. Depending on where students' learning is, you may see them need to count all of these 10s. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120. They may have to physically count up. I'm hoping at this point by 4th grade, you're not going to have students who need to count each individual unit, but you may. So again, it's really important for your own understanding when you are teaching this way to take some notes about how students are building this model, how they're using this model, and how they're adding up this model. You can build from here. You can build multiplication problems. So if I have 2 100s, I have 2 times 100, which is equal to 200. So trying to push their thinking as they become more familiar with this concrete model. Okay, so we are going to now talk about the representational way to show this model.